Kia ora e te whānau, a very warm welcome to another episode of No Boundaries. We are getting into it now. It is World Cup time. The warm-ups are happening. And to talk me through this World Cup and what they think is going to happen, I am joined today by one Mike Hesson and Scott Styris, who are beaming in from various parts of, well, the world today. Scotty, great to have you back with us. Hes, how was the grand final?
It was fantastic. Thanks, Laura. Obviously, over here on a family holiday and got the little bonus of, watching a grand final, which was pretty tight for those NRL fans. It was, heck of an entertaining evening and one that you'll certainly never forget.
I tell you what, that is a great holiday shirt as well, can I just say. Scotty...
Yeah, I'm on holiday. World Cup starting.
Very relaxed, very relaxed. Scotty, yeah. I can tell you're still in New Zealand because you look cold.
Well, I had a ticket to the grand final as well and was in Sydney on Saturday, and I decided not to go and came home. So maybe that was a mistake, judging by the game. It was a ripper. I would have gone if the Warriors were there. Unfortunately, they weren't. But no, I don't think they could have asked for a better final. And it is quite cold compared to 26 degrees last week over in Australia.
Great. Well, I've stayed here the whole weekend and I've been watching sport, and I tell you what, I was watching, like most of us, with interest, the New Zealanders' first hit out against Pakistan in that warm-up game. To see Black Cap captain Kane Williamson back in the mix, despite only playing as a batsman in that game, making light work of it, really, scoring 55 off about 50 balls. Hess, I'll start with you. How did you feel seeing Kane Williamson back out in the middle?
Well, I can only imagine how many thousand balls he's hit over the last month. The coach is getting sore shoulders and so forth. So sure everyone would have been delighted, including them, that he got out in the middle and showed how well he was hitting it in the nets and was able to transfer that into the park. So, I mean, Pakistan have got a solid attack. So to go out there having not played for over 5 months and get a run of ball 50 just shows the class and probably just shows just how important he is to that New Zealand top order.
So we know he is in the next warm-up game against South Africa. He's going to field as well, I beg your pardon. So he's going to have a go at the whole game. And we have had it announced to us earlier this week that he will not play the opening matchup that New Zealand have against England. What do you make of that, Scotty, and his build-up to this World Cup? Because obviously he's so good, I guess, you know, you miss as many games as you have to as long as you have him there. But what, for you, a former Black Cap, a cricket fan, how did you feel seeing Kane back out there?
Well, I think firstly, 99% of people wouldn't be able to get back in time, but we know that Kane will be prepared. It's unbelievable to see him back there because of the aura that he has, not just in the world game, but inside that dressing room. I think everybody else will feel comfortable. There isn't quite the same experience in the batting unit with regards to World Cups. So I think his presence there alone will be immense for this Black Cap side because they'll possibly, and we'll find out, I'm sure, with the opinions, start slightly on the outer looking in, but another big tournament from Kane, and New Zealand have every chance.
Yeah, I want to talk through each of the teams in this tournament because it is going to be a great tournament, and what a place to do it. I mean, India is fantastic and cricket is everything over there, and that's why we love to watch cricket in India. If we look at this New Zealand squad, yes, they beat Pakistan in a warm-up game, saw some great performances with the bat from Rachin Ravindra. Hess, what do you realistically think New Zealand's chances are? I mean, we've been semi-finalists 6 times in World Cups and we've been finalists twice. Is this potentially the World Cup where we get across the line, do one better and bring home a trophy?
Look, there's no doubt we can, but this will be the toughest of all in terms of such foreign conditions. There are other sides that are playing better than us at the moment. But without doubt, within our setup, we do have the quality to be able to beat good sides on their day. And once again, the challenge is to sneak into the semi-finals and then play that, 2 great knockout games in a row. And that's the biggest challenge. I think condition-based, it's not too bad from the grounds that New Zealand are playing at. I've sort of talked about a couple of times, Chennai could be a little bit of a banana skin in terms of the 2 games there against the subcontinent sides, and those are really important that New Zealand get through. But for me, if Kane's not playing in that first game, that's where that squad selection is so critical. And someone like Rachin Ravindra, for me, has to step up at number 3. I know they've got the choice between Chapman or Rachin. I don't think they'll want to disturb that opening combination, which they talk about with Young and Conway. So for me, it's just a straight swap in there. And if New Zealand can get away to a good start and knock over England, then they've got every chance of gaining that confidence and kicking on. So always live in hope, Laura. But as I said, New Zealand's going to have to play incredibly well over the next 5 or 6 weeks.
Yes, they certainly are, and it's a long tournament, Scotty. And you know what India's like to tour as well when you are travelling over there. 5-6 weeks in India, it's a long time. So they're going to have to work very hard if they want to win this trophy. But do you think that is realistic, similar to Hess?
I think my opinion is similar to Hess's actually, because I would have had them slightly on the outer, but with the ability to go through and do some real damage deep in the tournament. The main reason for that is because I think the backbone of New Zealand's 2019 performance was the bowling unit, funnily enough. All the experienced Southee, Bolt, the two spinners. You've also got the pace of Lockie Ferguson and what other options, maybe Rachin Ravindra if he fits in there as well. So they've got the variety as well. And I think that those bowlers, if it swings, New Zealand has a very good chance because we know how good those bowling combinations can be. Whether they get the runs is the big question. I agree as well. Chennai, it can be a really tough place to play, but then they only have to think back, and I can't recall. I think you might have been the coach, Hess, in 2016 with the T20 World Cup. Now, yes, it's a different version of the game, but that pool was India, Pakistan, Australia, and either Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, and New Zealand went through Bangladesh, and New Zealand went through unbeaten through that group stages in the subcontinent in India. So they have done it before, and a lot of those same bowlers were there. So I do think it does come down to how well do those bowlers do for New Zealand.
Hess, you and I have talked multiple times actually on this show about the role that Tim Southee plays in this Black Caps setup, and I think a lot of people would have been relieved with that extra press release that came out saying Southee will be travelling over as part of that World Cup squad, because what people don't see, and perhaps you can speak to this, is that actually he provides a lot in the changing room, especially for some of the younger guys, and with such a younger unit that the Black Caps have taken to this World Cup, how crucial is Southee going to be, and how relieved were you to see that he did make that flight over to India for this World Cup?
Well, look, Tim's a very calm character, and on the park he makes good decisions. So, you know, whether he's playing or not, I mean, that'll be a decision that is going to be challenging because I don't think New Zealand in those conditions can play Bolt, Southee and Henry. And Henry seems to get that first opportunity with the new ball. So that will be a real challenge of how they manoeuvre that. But whether Tim's playing or not, he does provide that calmness along with Kane. You know, Scotty talked about that aura. I mean, Tim is just... you look at him, he's, you know, even if you're going around the park, he won't lose his head. He'll still be nice and calm. And certainly that's changed since his younger days. But now he's a highly experienced player. He's a crucial leader in that group. And even if he has to come in a knockout game or he hasn't played every game, you know what you're going to get. And just a true professional. So absolutely delighted that he's able to, you know, to make this World Cup and what possibly could be his last one-day World Cup. So, you know, who knows down the track. But I think he was just so keen to come back after 2019 and give it another crack.
Yeah, that was a tough tournament for him, and we wish him all the very best with that thumb. I want to start going through the other teams here because New Zealand, like we say, slightly on the outer, but if they get it right, they could potentially bring home this trophy. Or could England trip us up? Now, we see them first up in this tournament. They've been playing some good cricket. Can they go back-to-back? And to your mind, Scotty Styris, who would be the player that we need to watch out for most in that England setup? They
certainly can go back-to-back. I think they are, if not the favourites, one of the favourites in my mind, just due to that devastating batting lineup they have. They've got match winners throughout. I do worry about the bowling a little bit, especially on flatter conditions, but wouldn't have been the case if you had the Mark Wood and Archer combination at the top with all that pace. But I think their batting is so strong they have to be taken seriously because of that ability to get the high 300s even. On some of the grounds and some of the pitches that they'll play on. So if I were to pick one of those players to look out for, I still believe Ben Stokes has got to be it. I really do appreciate his ability to stay calm under pressure at the back end of run chases. He obviously did it to us in 2019. And I think he's the player for England. Until he is out, you don't think the game is over. He has that, the Kane Williamson aura, the MS Dhoni from India aura, that sort of stature in the dressing room. I think Ben Stokes has got to be a key player, even though he's just coming back into the one-day game.
And despite him not taking on the captaincy role in this format, he's got a real follow-me attitude about him. We saw that in the Test game, and we saw it just recently, actually, when he, he came out of his retirement for one-day cricket, played against the Kiwis, and made it look like he'd never stepped away from the game. He's one to watch. Is there any other players that you'll be watching out for in that England side?
Yeah, I mean, I think the batting will take care of themselves, as Scotty's alluded to. They've got power, they've got depth with the bat. For me, Adil Rashid is important. I think if they can continue to take wickets through the middle, He hasn't been that successful in India, sort of struggled when he's had the opportunities in the IPL. He's done okay in one-day cricket without really setting the world on alight there. But he, for me, is that guy that if England will be fine with the runs, but if he can take wickets through the middle and be one of the top performers from a spin bowling point of view, he should be in his prime now. Then I think he'll play a big part in England going further in the tournament.
Okay, so England's certainly, I can tell you're on holiday here. She's got a bird in the background there. Fantastic. Let's talk about India and no, Scotty, no, I mean an actual bird. In India, playing at home, they're always hot favourites in their home conditions. They know how to play cricket there. They just know how to adapt. But do you think they could potentially lift the trophy, Scotty?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, they're another that I would put on the same level as perhaps England as well. I think they may have some extra pressure on them that perhaps wouldn't have been there, just simply due to the fact that the India still is, or thinks so much about 2011 when MS Dhoni hit the six to win the final in Mumbai, their first 50-over title since '83. There's a lot of talk around that. They've got the talent to do it. The batting, like England's, will take care of itself. I think they're incredibly strong. They need their bowlers to be fit. I think their bowlers most definitely are stronger than England's bowlers. And they have all the bases covered too. We know that they've got the spinners and all the varieties of them, whether it be Ashwin, whether it be the left-arm spinners or leg spinners with Kuldeep as well. They've got all of that in their arsenal. So I think they deserve to be the favourites being at home, and we know how as well the last couple of World Cups have been won by the home nation. So I expect them right up there. But, I wouldn't be fearful of them either, because if you can get on top of them, you can see what happened, as New Zealand did to them in 2019.
Yeah, and I feel like India is a team that's got the most pressure on them when it comes to World Cup, certainly after the last couple of finals they've played in it, being actually in the Test format or one-day format. I remember in 2019 there was a lot of criticism of that side and moving forward, be it rightly or wrongly, but they've had some injuries in the build-up. They've changed personnel, a few other players coming into the squad. You've spent a lot of time in India. Realistically, do you think that they could go all the way?
Look, I certainly do. I think they've almost got too many options, to be fair, from a batting point of view. It's all very well. They've sort of given people rests and done bits and pieces. I'm actually unsure exactly how that top six is going to line up. There's a few different options with Shreyas Iyer plays. Surya Kumar Yadav has done enough to go, hey, give me an opportunity. Ishan Kishan provides that left-hand opportunity. They can't play all of them. Obviously, the top three is sort of sorted with Gill, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. But outside of that, there's a little bit of uncertainty that heading into this tournament, that you hope that whatever they stick with, whatever they pick, they just keep running out rather than chopping and changing. Obviously, KL Rahul's come back from his injury and he's going to play as well. So you do have absolute abundance of riches in terms of batting-wise. For me, Mohammad Siraj is the key. If he can take wickets at the top for them, he's had an incredible last 18 months in one-day cricket, averaging less than 15 with the ball, around about 4 and over. He's been picking up wickets for fun at the top, including a 6 for 21 in the final of the Asia Cup. So he's in great form, and Bumrah's back as well. So, that bowling attack is looking pretty ominous. So, they're definitely going to make the semis. It's just how they deal with the pressure after that.
So if we move on to the Australian side, and look, I feel like every team in this World Cup in the build-up has been hit with some sort of injury. Australia as well, Travis Head with that broken hand is the first one I can think of. They're always there or thereabouts, Scotty. So where would you rank this current team? Given what they've just done in South Africa, although conditions obviously slightly different to India, where would you place them? Are they in your top 4, top 3 to maybe lift the trophy in this tournament?
Yeah, I've got them in my semi-finals as well. I think there's just too much class in their side. I like their bowling lineup. A little worried with the spinners, perhaps, but Glenn Maxwell in the warm-up games as well has done a pretty good job. So, if he can provide that role too, then I think they've got every chance, because Mitchell Starc, I think, is the player. If I'm looking for a key man, he's a guy that can just pick up wickets, particularly in the middle overs with his ability to bowl those reverse swing Yorkers. And at the death. And I think that'll be one of the determining factors as to who does win this tournament, is who can nail those Yorkers in particular, or nail the death aspect of their bowling the best. And I think Australia do have that ability. It's not a natural length for someone like Pat Cummins or a Hazelwood or whoever they choose. But I just think from 1 through 11, there's enough match winners there to say that they will be in the semis.
Yeah, I'd have to suggest that you probably feel the same, Hess, that they will make the semis. Is Mitchell Marsh a player that you will watch out for, or Mitchell Stark? Who of the Mitchells, who are you most interested to watch how they go over there?
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit concerned about their spin bowling as well. I mean, they've replaced Ashton Agar with Labuschagne. Obviously, Labuschagne on the back of a huge amount of runs in India and coming into some good form. But I think that almost could play them into a little bit of trouble if they decide to play both Smith and Labuschagne. There was a good reason why they didn't do that in the first place. It was because of the low strike rates. And I just hope when the pressure comes on, from an Australian perspective, that they don't revert to type, I guess, in terms of playing that rotating sort of style, and therefore they're going to have to leave out another ball striker through the middle. So that would be more of a concern to me, because now they've got way too many batters and they don't have a left-arm spinner, which in some grounds, could be a little bit of an issue with the ability to spin the ball away, because Zampa's probably more of a googly bowler than a leg spin bowler. So, you've always got the ball, sliding back into the right-handers, and we saw how Zampa got taken to in South Africa in particular. So for me, Zampa's a key, but loads of batting. Both the Mitches are guns. For me, it's just the balance of the squad they have to get right.
Now, Pakistan, I feel like if we go back to the T20 World Cup, which happened just a handful of years ago, Pakistan really missed a trick there, because you felt that they were the team that looked the best sort of throughout the tournament in the games they played, until they obviously lost. So where do you think they rank in this World Cup, Scotty? Because, they've been doing all right. Like, the results are there. The players are good.
Yeah, I had them right up there at the top as well. I think the loss of Naseem Shah will be bigger than a lot of people think. And I think that brings them back a peg. I really do, or am looking at bowling as a collective 5-man unit. And I think they have as good as anyone when they're all there. When you throw in Shaheen Shah Afridi, Harris Ralph, Naseem Shah, Shadab and Mohammad Nawaz, I think that's as good as anyone can produce. Now, Naseem Shah not being there, I think does weaken them a lot. I think their batting is just a little too reliant on Babar Azam, along with Rizwan. And Sidafaka Zaman is a little hit and miss. He's been in a T20 tournament in Sri Lanka, didn't really get going, found timing the ball in the subcontinent a little hard to do. So I think they're going to, if they are to win, they're going to need some good tournaments out of the 4, 5, 6 in the batting order. And that is where I think their weakness is. So it's going to rely heavily on their bowlers and Babar Azam, in my eyes.
Yeah, is Baba your man in this Pakistan side, Hess, or who would be the player for you for this tournament?
Yeah, he certainly is from the volume of runs perspective. I just hope he's allowed to play with a little bit more freedom. He's the sort of guy that can score a run a ball, but he can also score 100 off 130, 140, which might not be enough. Shadab Khan for me is the one who, if he has a great tournament, he can contribute potentially around that number 6 slot with the bat. He's definitely better with the bat than he's shown, and with the ball, if he's at his best, he can create plenty of wicket-taking opportunities through the middle. He's just a little bit inconsistent at the moment in recent series, but hopefully he can do a job for them. And if he is, then he's probably Pakistan for me once again sort of sneaking in for that 4th, 5th spot.
So if we look at the South African team, and I think back to the last couple of ODI World Cups for them, obviously we remember what happened in 2015, thank you very much, and the pressure they were under to get themselves into that final, and then they just had an inexplicably poor 2019 World Cup. For them to come into this World Cup the way they are, the cricket they've been played, we've seen what they can do against Australia to an extent. How do you think their chances look now, Scotty Styris?
Look, a month ago, before that Australian series, I felt like getting to the semi-finals would be the ceiling for this side. But again, we know they've got a lot of match winners in that team. Heinrich Klaassen has been unbelievable in the last 12 months or so. David Miller as well. We see a lot in Hesson in the IPL. And they've got so many fast bowling options. Anrich Nortje not being there, I think, will be felt a little less than what you might expect. He is a phenomenal bowler as well. So they will take a huge amount of confidence from that Australian series, the way they were able to fight back, the manner and the end result of how easily they were winning, I think will stand them in good stead. But I still always come back to the fact that they do find a way to lose when they shouldn't. They've had so much talent over the years that if you're playing against them, you would be reminding them of this every single moment, because you've got to believe that they're going to do it again until they don't. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I can imagine you'd be just the guy on the field actually to remind them of exactly how that looked. But he is dead right. If you look at that team, like I go back to 2015, that side. That World Cup's, God, the talent in that team, but they just could never produce the goods at the right time enough to propel them forward into that final and, then to hopefully go on and win it. So where do you think they sit, and who was your player to look out for?
Well, I think that Australian series is a bit of a shame really for them, because now there is an expectation. I think a wee while ago, no one was really talking about South Africa. Now they are. And for me, I was going to call them the Smokies or the Dark Horses, but they're probably not anymore, having dismantled Australia over there. So, look, I think they're a very good side. I think Maharaj is a quality finger spinner, and I think he could do a decent job over there. Rabada, for me, with Nokia not there, Rabada's got to step up, and we know how good he can be when he's firing, but he's one of those guys that he does lose his rhythm quite quickly. So hopefully, if he's on song and there's not as much expectation on them, you'd like to think they can then play with a little bit of freedom. And if they do, then for me, as I said, I've got them and Pakistan sort of fighting for that fourth spot in the semis. But South Africa, it could be their time. It probably won't be, but it could be.
Well, see, is that as simple as the message would need to be from their opponents, Scotty? Just when you're out fielding and they may be batting, or vice versa, you just lightly remind them it should be your time, but it probably won't be?
That's exactly what you do. You have to do that. I mean, because that is all everybody talks about. Even when you have conversations with the players who are playing in the various leagues around the world, they're very well aware that South Africa's record is one that is a disappointment with the talent they've had. They've had some phenomenal sides over the years. So the fact that they're going into another tournament with a lot of match winners again, that shouldn't surprise anybody. But it's that ability when the pressure comes on. Can they keep their nerve? I don't think they have the players who can do that as well as others, although some of the players have been stepping up big time in recent times.
If we look to the Sri Lankan side, this is a team that we've been asking a lot more from for a while now. How do you think they're going to go in this World Cup, Hess?
Yeah, well, about 3 weeks ago, I had them as a side to be very wary of. But unfortunately, with Hasaranga getting knocked out or through injury, Chimera not playing there either, there's a couple of pretty key weapons that they're going to miss from a bowling perspective. I think Theeksana is a nice bowler if he's got other bowlers to do the job through the middle. He's nice with a new ball. If there's a little bit in the wicket, he can create some opportunity, but he can't do it all by himself. And I think they're a little bit thin from a bowling point of view. That we saw when the ball moved in the final of the Asia Cup, getting bowled out for 50, when the ball just did enough, probably showed the soft underbelly, I guess, of that batting lineup. So I think it's going to be a bridge too far for them to progress. They could, however, still knock over any of the top sides on their day, but probably not as many weapons now to fire without Hasaranga and Chimera there.
Yeah, you always feel like Sri Lanka could be one to cause an upset at any point because they have got some talented players in there, Scotty. But what do you like? Or how do you like their chances in this tournament?
Yeah, I commentated on the Sri Lanka Premier League last month, and there is some talent there. You're right, Patirana, who did really well for CSK as well. I think they needed to be at full strength, as Hess mentioned. In terms of it, there's a young guy, Wilalage, who I think is a terrific cricketer. You class him as a gamer. He's one of those players, a little left-arm spinner. He can bat. He's tiny, but yet he has a presence in the game every single time he plays. And I think that's what Sri Lanka is missing. They're a little bit flaky. They can be downright dreadful, or they can beat the best in the world. So the players like Wilalage, I think, are the ones that they need to just give them a bit more backbone. So, they can cause upsets, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did in this tournament. I just think to be a World Cup winner, consistency needs to be a big part of that, and I don't think that's the strength of them at the moment.
So the teams to round out this tournament, Afghanistan, Bangladesh and the Netherlands, can any of those, do you think realistically with the players and they could cause some upsets? I'm thinking of Afghanistan in particular, to be honest with you, Hess, but do you think that they could progress into a semi-final spot?
No, I don't think so. Bangladesh, Tamim Iqbal's decided to take his bat and ball and go home because he was going to have to bat down the order, so he wasn't happy with that. and he's sort of one of those experienced players. So there, Shakib Al Hassan's got his work cut out from trying to pull that team together, at the last minute. Once again, they could do an upset, but won't have that consistency. Afghanistan with the ball are incredibly dangerous, especially if conditions suit. My concern is with the bat, whether they'll have the ability to score enough runs consistently. I think those two teams are ones that could, as I said, cause the odd upset and maybe ruin the tournament for one or two teams that have the form to progress. Netherlands, probably got one or two, maybe one upset in them. I think outside of that, they've done a magnificent job to make the tournament. They've got some good players to spin, but I'm not so sure they've quite got the depth to be able to compete over 50 overs. That's probably my take on it. But outside of that, you've probably got 7 teams that I think are vying for 4 spots, and Black Caps will be one of them.
Yeah, the Netherlands, they're only going to be better off for playing in a tournament like this, and they'll certainly learn a lot about their game. And you're right, over the 50 overs, it's quite a challenge for them. So for you, Scotty, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Netherlands, anyone going to the semi-final of that lot, or could they just potentially all cause an upset on their day?
I think they're in the upset bracket. Once again, very similar to Hess. The bowling for Afghanistan is superb. A lot relies on Gurbaz. Ramanullah Gurbaz at the top. He is incredibly talented, but he just plays poor shots out of nowhere when he's looking like he's just going to take a game apart. He's got so much talent. So that consistency is, again, it's the theme word or the buzzword for me is over the 6 weeks of the tournament. That consistency is what will lead your side through to the semi-finals. So I think this tournament's perhaps one tournament too soon for Afghanistan. They need to develop that batting a little bit more. They've got a lot of skills and talent coming up, but not a lot of experience to go with it as yet. And with Bangladesh, it's, again, they just seem to be infighting all the time. They've got a young talented player named Ridoy, who I think is a player for the future for them. Maybe he will enjoy being on the world stage and showing everybody how good he is, because he's got all the skills and is a talented player, but he's just got very little experience. And very similar to Gurbaz, he just plays a rash shot out of nowhere from time to time. So the skills are there, and therefore I do believe they could cause an upset against somebody, but I'm not sure that they'll be semi-final calibre.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much for your thoughts today as we get ready to crack into this Cricket World Cup, which you can watch that all here on Sky Sport. Scott Styris, Mike Hesson, thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks very much, Laura.
We'll see you soon, and thank you guys so much for joining us on No Boundaries. We'll see you next time.